So on this page, you're going to learn about the difference between an endothermic chemical reaction and an exothermic chemical reaction. So the first thing to do is just remind you of what a chemical reaction means. A chemical reaction or a chemical change is when you create a new substance or substances. This is a chemical change, so that means that you will see one or more of the parts, remember. So when you write a chemical reaction, it has specific parts in a specific format that you need to know about. The first things that you write are the ingredients, but we call them the reactants. So in this example, there are two reactants or two ingredients. We require X and Y, whatever those may be. The next part of the chemical reaction you see is the arrow, but you can't say X plus Y arrow something. You have to read that arrow properly. And so you're going to say that arrow means either yields or makes. So X plus Y makes XY, and the stuff that gets made is just called the products. So the reactants make the products. That's how you read a chemical reaction. Now, sometimes chemical reactions can be endothermic, and endo kind of sounds like in. And in an endothermic reaction, what's happening is the reaction requires heat in order to happen. This means that it is absorbing heat from the outside. So heat is going to go into the reaction. What that means that you would feel is cold. That reaction would steal all of the heat from your hand and suck it up inside of that beaker. The heat that you are losing is making your hand feel cold because it is an endothermic reaction. If you were going to write it out using our reactants make products format, the reaction would show the heat on the reactant side, which is the left. So heat would be an ingredient. And so what that would look like in a real example would be this. We have CaCO3 plus heat. So these two things are the reactants. And so CaCO plus 3, or CaCO3 plus heat makes CaO plus CO2. And so these things are the products. Since we have found that heat is on the reactant side right here, that means that this reaction is endothermic. Heat is going in. The opposite of that is an exothermic reaction. Exo sort of sounds like exit, and so that's your trick to remember that here heat is going to be leaving. So this reaction produces heat. That heat that gets produced is going to be released into the outside environment. What you would feel then is hot because the heat is being released from the beaker and it's going into your hand. So you feel all of that warmth. The reaction when you write it out would show heat on the product side because it gets made, it is produced. And so what that would look like is this. CH4 plus O2 yields heat plus water plus carbon dioxide. So I've got my reactants here. I've got my products over here. And since I have circled heat with the products, that means that this reaction is exothermic and will produce heat.